So ours is going to be a little bit different because this package is designed for a specific database, the All of Us Researcher Workbench. I know this is a little bit antithetical to the whole idea of the OHDSI community, but this is a very specific database that we wanted to develop some tools for. So my co-author in this endeavor is Rob Kavanaugh, and I've invited him to do a little bit of this talk with me. We're both based in Portland at the Root Institute at Northeastern University. And I just want to make clear that this work is not affiliated with or endorsed by the All of Us research program. This is just our attempt to make research on our team, as well as hopefully, among the greater community a little bit easier. So Rob, I'm going to turn it over to you to give a little bit of a background on All of Us.
Thanks. Yeah, we snagged that All of Us our package name and then realized we probably should put a disclaimer on it. The short of it is that the All of Us research program is this initiative by the NIH to advance precision medicine using data from participants, particularly who reflect the diversity of the United States. So the program collects a wide variety of data, including health and lifestyle surveys, electronic health records, some genomics data, wearable data, physical measurements data. So we have this sort of vast treasure trove of data. The data are linked and transformed into OMOP, which is great. And the data are widely available. So if you're a researcher at an institution, your institution can execute a DUA with the All of Us research program. You can have access to the data. The cost is relatively affordable as far as things go. Let's go to the next slide, Louisa. Okay, so once you have access to the All of Us data set, there are a couple of different ways that you might access the data. So they have some sort of point and click tools, sort of a very, very, very toned down version of Atlas. And you also have access to Jupyter Notebooks or RStudio or recently SAS. And so you could write custom code to access the data. There's some challenges with the way that this is set up. So if you're doing a simple study, simple characterization, you might be able to use some of these point and click tools, but that's not actually most of what we do. It's a lot more complicated. So now you're writing custom code. And the downside is our tools like Atlas are really not compatible with what All of Us has set up. So we have students or researchers needing to write custom code in R, SQL, Python. We have OHDSI tools that might make our life easier, but don't really work with the data. And so the goal of this package really is to streamline this whole process so that we can be more efficient, we can do more research, our research is more reproducible. And we sort of start to move All of Us maybe a little bit back towards what the OHDSI community, what we love, which is sort of openness and reproducibility. So that's really the motivations for the package. And then I'm going to let Louisa talk specifically about some key aspects of the package we wanted to introduce you to today. And go ahead. Louisa, you're muted.
Okay, great. Thanks, Rob. So we have this diagram that is in the preprint that we have recently posted about this package. The link is right here. And we're going to talk through some different components of the workflow, though we won't go through the whole workflow because it won't make a lot of sense to people who have not used All of Us before. We're just going to highlight some key ways that we can integrate a little bit more with OHDSI tools and hopefully make people's lives easier who are interested in doing research with the All of Us program data. So in this package, we have some kind of just data tools. So code books for all of the survey related data, particularly the health survey related data is very complex in All of Us. So we've tried to make that a little bit more manageable. And then we have a bunch of different ways that you can access the data, including the survey data, the EHR data. We'll talk about these a little bit more, creating cohorts with Atlas, or just running SQL queries if you'd prefer to write your code that way. And then kind of a lot of what this package is based on is this idea that we're targeting people who maybe have some experience coding in R, don't know anything about the OMOP CDM, and we're trying to kind of make it more accessible to these people. So all of our tools are compatible with dplyr based on the dbplyr set of tools. So I'll talk a little bit about some of these. So the first thing I'll mention is that one thing that we really wanted to do was make it possible to do parallel research, if not exactly network studies, using cohorts that were developed on Atlas, potentially for other research studies or exclusively for an All of Us study, and use those cohorts in All of Us, which, as Rob mentioned, might be a little bit more complex than the current tools allow for. So this takes advantage of the Atlas Web API. If you have a cohort that you've already created, say on the demo Atlas, or another one that has a web API that you can access from the workbench, you can pull that cohort. You can create that cohort directly in the All of Us database. In order to do that, we needed to essentially create a new observation table in the All of Us database. The one that currently is there is specific to the survey and some of the physical measurements data, and it's also changed from All of Us iteration to iteration. So we wanted something that was consistent, that kind of adhered to some of the OMOP CDM conventions. So we also have that as a standalone function for people who prefer to create their cohorts a little bit more manually. In the preprint, we walk through, and I'm not going to go through all of it here, but we walk through kind of how to create a pretty simple cohort using the All of Us R package tools, including the observation period function, as well as this concept set function, which is, we hope to expand it in the future, but the basic idea is that you can provide a concept set and then pull the data from the database and then do future analyses, manipulate that data in whatever way you want. One of the main features, one of the kind of important reasons that you might want to use All of Us is because of the rich survey data that's available. So there are a number of different surveys, starting with kind of a basics one about demographics. There's one about health history. There's one about social determinants of health. And there's a lot of rich information in here, but it's really, really difficult to manage. And we found that we were having a hard time, especially with different iterations of the database when they release new data. We were having a hard time aligning our counts of who answered what to what survey question, which is obviously a problem. We realized there were some kind of problematic ways that different tools that we were using were treating missing data or skipped survey responses. There are a lot of kind of hierarchical survey questions. So we created this All of Us survey function, and I think possibly even more importantly, created a searchable tool, a searchable table on the package website that you can use to pull out specific concept IDs that will actually get you the answer that you want. I know this sounds a little bit vague, but if you've ever used All of Us survey data, you might know what I'm talking about. And I'm happy to answer more questions about this offline. So along with kind of these two important things, which is pulling EHR data from All of Us, pulling survey data from All of Us, we have a lot of just functions that hopefully make your life easier, make your analyses more reproducible, make them cleaner and nicer to look at. I won't go into all of these, but the basic idea is that you can connect to the database, which is a Google BigQuery database, run SQL code directly on that, pull data from different tables, join them with a temporary table. So if you have local data that you want to bring in, we've made it possible to do that. And then we have a bunch of different functions that facilitate the saving of data and reading in of data, because you have a local workspace, but then you also have what's called a bucket, which is shared with your collaborators and which you might use for a little bit more permanent storage. And so we found that this was a little bit challenging for the students and trainees that we were working with to deal with. So we wanted to just make their lives easier. We have a package website, which is linked on the final slide. And on this, I definitely recommend going through the Getting Started tutorial first if you're interested in using All of Us, or if you already use All of Us and want to see how the package could fit in with what you've already developed in your research workflow. And then we have a couple of other tutorials focusing on specific components of the package. We're especially, I want to highlight in kind of this list of links that you might be interested in. I want to mention that if you use this package, we'd love to hear about it, and we'd love to hear any issues you have. So please report those to us. The GitHub link is here. Our email addresses are also below. We also are interested to know what are some other functionalities that would be useful to you in a package like this. This was completely motivated and informed by our own usage of the All of Us research program data and our students' usage. And when we kind of came to something that was a little bit challenging, we said, let's write a function and add it to the package. So we'd love to continue developing it with your needs in mind if you're using the All of Us data. That's it. Please feel free to reach out if you've got any questions or if you're interested in learning more.